I didn't know if I'd be able to make it up those stairs in my heels. As I was telling my friend Cynthia, I haven't worn them in about 20 years. But I felt I needed to wear them to pose as the geriatric Barbie for today. And she corrected me and she said, "No, Sallie, you are the menopausal Barbie." And that made some men around us very uncomfortable. But after Marlon asked me to speak about Barbie, I went on an unexpected journey of self-discovery. And this is not very Unitarian, but I started that journey in my closet because I wondered if I could find enough Barbie-like clothes to pull it off. And the problem was I had too many Barbie-like clothes to choose from. And I realized that I'd not gotten my taste or my style from my mother or my older sister or my high school classmates, but from my Barbie. And she gave me a lifelong affection for accessories. Before I tell my Barbie story, I want to say that I agreed with Gloria's speech from the movie. It is impossible to please everyone. For example, as a Unitarian, when I started thinking about this speech, I thought, well, I probably need to do a lot of research, read a lot of books, get some charts and things, and make a deeply intellectual talk. But that wouldn't be me at all. So I just decided to be true to myself instead. I got my Barbie when I was about 9 years old, my first Barbie. It was a rite of passage. And I was more interested in the clothes and accessories than I was in the actual Barbie, because Barbie, began her career as a fashion model. And of course, that took a lot of clothes, and that was marketing genius. As a young girl, I understood that Barbie was just a doll, a toy, and that it would be impossible for a real human to look like Barbie. And then we got a babysitter that actually did look like Barbie. She was tall but busty. She had a beautiful face and a ponytail. And I have 3 sisters, and we were all so excited to have this babysitter that looked like a Barbie. And we felt, other kids would be coming to our house just to look at her. Well, my mother wasn't as excited to have a Barbie look-alike in the house as we were. My mother was a great lady, a social worker, and she was a leader in the community, but neither she nor my father were good role models about having a positive body image. My mother was 5'8", and she always felt she was about 25 pounds overweight. My father was 5'6", and he could eat anything he wanted and never gain a pound. It was just his body type. So it infuriated my mother. So my mom was a charter member of Weight Watchers. The other way she kept her weight down was she didn't keep any baked goods or sweets in the house. And my father loved sweets. He had a real sweet tooth. My dad, his solution to the problem was every March when Girl Scout cookie sales started, he would buy from us 4 girls a year's supply. And then he had an old dresser in our basement retrofitted with locks on every drawer. And then by the end of the next March, the dresser was empty and everybody was happy. My mom put up a sign on our refrigerator that said, "After school snacks, saltines, water." Yeah, it was pretty extreme. I was in high school at the time, and we had all just gotten our driver's license, so we liked to go house to house just to hang out. And boy, did I get teased. It was like, oh, we could go to Sallie's house and have some water. Or maybe Mrs. Gardner has bought a box of premium saltines. And even to this day, when I go back to a high school reunion, some of my classmates will say, well, I see you've been drinking a lot of that water. So it really did create some funny situations. I think that my playing with Barbie didn't make me think that I should have a Barbie-like body or anything like that, or give me any new messages about image and women and weight. I think it just repeated messages that I'd already absorbed before I was 9, and that would be that thin is good and fat was bad, which is a terrible message, especially with a tendency toward fat in my family. But you really can't live in our culture without learning that message. And as I got older, I was influenced by Twiggy and Jackie Kennedy and Audrey Hepburn, and of course, they were all thin. So knowing that I'd grown up with extremes as far as body image and weight, when my granddaughter came along, I read all I could about body image and weight and all those subjects. And one of the best books I read was called Fat Talk, Parenting in an Age of Diet Culture. And I was starting to get a little alarmed about the quantities of food that my granddaughter ate. So I'd always try to serve her something really healthy in small portions, and she didn't like it. Well, in Fat Talk, I learned that limiting children's food like that could lead to eating disorders. So now I let her eat all she wants when she comes over, and we're both happy again. But I wanted to be a good role model about body image. Now, my granddaughter loves dolls, but she doesn't care about their clothes. She cares about their careers. And every Monday, she brings over her Barbie dream house, her pink Jeep, Barbie's pink Jeep, and her Barbies and the LOL dolls. And her Barbie always is the owner of a pizza parlor. So that Barbie has a lot to do with, making pizza, and we talk about catering jobs to, increase the revenue. But my granddaughter's favorite activity of role playing is firing those slacker LOL dolls. They are really lazy. Well, one day I noticed that she had taken a Barbie and stuffed clothes under her top. And so she was very puffy looking in the front. And I asked her if Barbie was pregnant. And she said, no, Grandmommy, she can't work if she's pregnant. And I said, oh, yeah, she can. You better give her some maternity leave, like at least 6 weeks, or you're going to be in trouble with the law. And that scared her. And she said, oh, I'll just give her a year. Yeah, she's going to be good at this. And I said, well, if she's not pregnant, what's the story here? And she said, oh, she's fat. And I said, oh, okay, well, listen, they have curvy Barbies up at Target, and I will buy you one if that's what you want. And she said, no, I like to do it my way, because this way, my Barbie can be fat when I want and skinny when I want. And I get to pick which, just like us. So that is wisdom, the latest wisdom from a Tulsa 10-year-old. And I think that's a very wise way to look at weight and body image. And I will leave you with that thought. Thank you.
That was fun. It was the south side of Chicago, circa 1978. I was 10 years old, and every day I would rush home from school, put on my play clothes, and run downstairs into our finished basement into a converted storage room. Now, it couldn't have been much larger than a bathroom, but inside of that double-doored entry were 2 levels to the left of shelves. On the top level was the Barbie mall. It even had an escalator, a couple of stores, a couple of food courts, a fountain on the lower level. And when you walked in immediately into the storage room, right in front of you was the transportation center. That's where you found Barbie's private jet, her RV that she would take Skipper on trips down the Magnificent Mile, right? And then you also had the coolest convertible Corvette. To the right, there was a disco and a roller rink. And on the left was the pièce de résistance, which was my Barbie dream house. It was magnificent. Large bedroom, full kitchen. She even had a microwave before we had one. She had the big aquarium. Okay, it was painted on the wall, but it was still huge, right? It was everything that I wanted. It was absolutely amazing. I spent hours changing her clothes, styling her hair, and imagining that that we were a pilot, professor, doctor, dancer, an actor, and so much more. There were no limits to what Barbie and I could do. And when my friends, Michelle, Valerie, Nisi, and Billy would all come over, we would get lost in that world, in that closet. And then sadly, Billy was literally forced out of the closet by his mother, who forbade him to play with dolls with us anymore because boys don't play with dolls. I didn't understand. We were brokenhearted because no one was better at playing dolls than Billy. I honestly thought that when Barbie went into the real world in the movie to find the person playing with her, that it would be a boy. Now that would have been something. I had complicated feelings for Barbie. I loved her and I envied her. She reminds me of that super cute, really nice girl in school that you would stare at and say terrible things under your breath, like, I bet she has ugly feet. Or her breath probably stinks too. But you secretly wanted her to be your friend, to be allowed into her orbit because somehow, some way, all that beauty and brilliance would rub off on you, right? I also wondered why there wasn't a Barbie that looked like me, tall, dark-skinned, lanky, coarse hair. I really wanted her to look like me, or my mom, who everybody in the neighborhood thought was a model. But if I'm really, really honest, I wanted to look like her. Long, blonde hair, blue eyes, built like a brick house. Well, not really. She didn't have much of a butt, but I wanted to keep my butt, but I digress. And then Christmas of 1978, I got my first black Barbie, the Christie doll. Oh my God, did I love that doll. I took her everywhere. I slept with her. I brought her to the dinner table. I would take her in the car with me. I had my backpack for school. I don't know if this is true, but in my mind, I thought she was modeled after the TV character, Get Christie Love. Now, it was a pseudo-blaxploitation TV show of a brilliant, beautiful, and bad A cop that you did not want to mess with. Y'all too young to remember that show. But my Christie doll became the focus of my playtime. And when I got my Christie doll fashion head, y'all remember those? Where it was just the head of the doll? I didn't style her hair like the box suggested, like the Farrah Fawcett flip. That's not what I did. I instead taught myself how to cornrow. I would put the braids on Barbie's head. She would have the barrettes and the little balls. My doll looked like me. It was liberating and validating to play with a doll who looked back at me with a familiar nose and full lips, and it felt like home. I learned how to do makeup on Christy, and sometimes I would talk to her about my day. You know, the trials and tribulations of a tween. And sometimes I swear she would talk back. Over the years, Mattel has made some efforts to make Barbie more culturally diverse and inclusive. They've released Barbies with different body types, skin colors, cultural clothing, and hairstyles. This is encouraging, absolutely. But there's still more. When my daughter was born, I was torn about buying dolls for her. There was all the conversations about the kinds of things that dolls would do to girls and the stereotypes that we were setting up for them. So if I've called myself a feminist, was it a feminist thing to do to give my daughter a doll? Well, my daughter never really played with Barbie dolls. But my daughter, who is now 20, grew up playing with the incredibly fashionable and ethnically diverse Monster High dolls. She didn't have to compare her own skin to theirs because they were green and pink and purple, right? But she seemed to be inspired by the Barbie movies, the animated Barbie movies at that time as she was growing up, because Barbie was always kind and she was a good friend, and that's what my daughter said that she always aspired to be. And that's exactly who she is. As I got older and would hear how Barbie, if she was real, would fall over because her feet were too small to hold her upright with the weight of her boobs, it made sense, because when I would play with her and put her in one of the doll stands, she couldn't stand up in that either, right? But I was angry, not at Barbie, but at the folks who thought that this was a good idea to do to us, to make us think that the unachievable was the ideal. But she isn't real. She's just complicated. She's all the things that we are as women, not because of how she was built or what she looks like, but what our imaginations made her out to be. Brave, yet scared. Confident, yet insecure. Sure and indecisive. A boss lady and a party girl. A mother and a daughter. Single and married. Straight and yes, queer. Yeah. There was a time when my relationship with Barbie was complicated. Barbie made me question myself, but she also helped me to explore my dreams. I don't know if she helps or hurts society's ideals of who girls and women are or could be, but whatever she is or is not, it's not as important as coming to know in my bones the same thing that Ken learned in the movie. I am enough, just as I am. Tall, a bit thicker now, dark-skinned, coarse hair that's now gray, and I couldn't be more grateful for what I learned and how I grew from spending countless hours in my Barbie land with my friends, and there's nothing complicated about that.
Good morning, everyone.
Well, good morning.
My name is Berkeley Shouse. I am a mom, a volunteer, a homeschool teacher, a hockey player, and a feminist. And I am not a Barbie girl. Last week, Marlon quoted a doll expert who said, "Ken is a doll that you would get but never ask for." As I reflected on today's theme, what Barbie means to me, I realized that this sentiment surrounding Ken was my feeling toward Barbie in general. Growing up as a little girl in the late 90s, I owned Barbies. But as I thought back, I couldn't remember a single instance of really wanting one. My childhood idol was Jane Goodall. I dreamed of growing up and living among the great apes of Africa. My childhood bedroom was plastered with posters and pictures of monkeys, chimp figurines, even my sheets had monkeys printed on them. I just couldn't relate to Barbie. I had no strong feelings about her or her empire, positive or negative. It just wasn't me. As a young adult, however, I began to feel strongly that Barbie represented something that we as a society should be moving away from. The unattainable proportions, the painted-on smile, the perfect blonde hair, and especially the idea that all little girls should and did want Barbies and want to be Barbie. It made me angry. I imagined that if the day should come when I had a baby girl of my own, that I would never buy her Barbies, that I would not help propel the Barbie machine, and that I would be part of its annihilation. In the spring of 2016, the day did come when I had a baby girl of my own, Violet. As she grows and her own incredible personality begins to emerge, I feel like I hit the jackpot. Violet is a fierce hockey player. She loves math and science and all things spooky and creepy and gross. This little girl asked us for a set of stainless steel dissection tools for her 7th birthday. And she petitioned Santa for her own coffin last Christmas. And he did deliver. Dolls were just never something she asked for or cared to play with. And I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little relieved that she was naturally following the path that I had envisioned for her. In our house, Barbie was a non-entity. Now, several weeks ago, my husband Caleb and I saw the Barbie movie. It had been a rare kid-free afternoon. I'd wanted to see Oppenheimer, but Caleb suggested seeing Barbie. Eventually, I relented, and I'm so glad I did. One of the things that stood out to me most about the film was that Barbie wasn't just a pretty girl with an empty head and a fabulous outfit. She was the president. She was an astronaut, a Nobel Prize winner, a pilot. She was intelligent, kind, confident, and supportive of her fellow Barbies. She was whoever and whatever she wanted to be, unapologetically. The reason this struck me so deeply, this past spring I turned 29. As I rapidly approach a new decade, I've spent some time reflecting on my life, and I realized that I had put myself in a box. Not a fun, hot pink box with a Malibu background, but a box of fear. As an Aries firstborn daughter, I tend to need to be the best at everything. And I'd been so afraid of not being good at things that I just hadn't even tried anything. So this year, I adopted the mantra, I am not afraid to be seen trying. Thanks to this mindset, I've done so many new things. I jumped into the deep end of the pool. Literally, water is my greatest fear, and I jumped into the deep end of a pool. I joined a hockey team, even though I'd only been on ice skates a handful of times in my life. I've taken self-defense classes. I've taken on new roles here at All Souls. I said yes to this. I'm speaking in front of my entire church when last year I would have done anything to avoid public speaking. So this is what I came to understand. I am a mom, a volunteer, a teacher, a hockey player, and a feminist. I am intelligent, kind, confident, and supportive of my fellow humans. I am whoever and whatever I want to be unapologetically, and that makes me a Barbie girl. That's what I want for my daughter, and for your daughters, and for all of us and all of our children. So, many years after my silent resolution to deliver ruination into the lap of the Barbie empire, I watched my fierce little 7-year-old walk into the movie theater with her aunt and her great-grandma, ready for their screening of the Barbie movie, and I hoped that she would come out feeling like a Barbie girl. Thank you.
There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul. We'll help you, but we invite you to join us in singing Rose Sanders' beautiful song of self-affirmation. Let's try it. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing